PHH Solicitors are your local Falco solicitors. PHH pride themselves on providing a personal and friendly service to local residents and businesses on all aspects of legal work. Whether it's buying or selling a house, making a will, dealing with family issues or advice about medical negligence and personal injury, PHH are the people to speak to. With offices just around the corner from Highbury Stadium and also Cleveland's, the legal advice you need is right on your doorstep. Alternatively, you can call them on 01253 824 216 or find them online at phhsolicitors.co.uk. Hello and welcome back to the CodCast, your official Fleetwood Town podcast. Today we are joined by first team coach Matt Lawlor. Matt, how are we doing?
All right, thank you very much. Thanks very much for having me.
You're very welcome. So talk to me a little bit about yourself. Obviously you're a first team coach here, but take me back to the beginning. Did you like football growing up, I'm guessing? Was it one of your keen passions?
Yeah, huge amount. So I'm a local boy from around here. So grew up in Polton, really. Loved football from day dot. My dad was a footballer, my older brother was in football and then became a footballer, and then that was all I wanted to do. So yeah, from a football family, and loved it from a young age. So that was me as a kid playing football. So I played for the local people watching, they'll know Polton Youth. So I grew up on Cotton Hall playing there, played against Fleetwood Gym, Fleetwood Town, and then went to Blackpool at a really, really young age, at about 7, and then stayed at Blackpool until I was a professional and left about 21. So yeah, my journey into football for the kid, I've loved it and still love it to this day. So I'm really, really fortunate to make it a job of mine now. How would you describe yourself as a footballer when you're a young kid? Yeah, I wasn't technically amazing. I was very, very driven, very determined. I like to tackle. As you can see, probably the state of my nose. I broke it a couple of times playing over the years. Yeah, I like to tackle. My nickname at Blackpool was Chopper, so that kind of tells you a little story as to what I was about as a player. Football's gone a little bit soft for me these days. I don't think I'd last very long in the current game on the pitch. So yeah, no, I was very determined, but yeah, I grafted, I worked hard. I represented what I believe my family instilled in me, work hard. My dad used to say to me, work hard, have fun every game, and that's what I try to do.
You said you played till about 21 years of age. At what point did you know that maybe being a professional footballer for the rest of your career might not be a feasible option?
Yeah, probably in and around then. So when I left Blackpool, it's weird how your career takes a journey. I always loved still played football until I was about part-time until 2-3 years ago. So I played at like national level, National League level, National League North level, and then NPL level. Over the past few, obviously for predominantly my career, my full-time career. So AFC Fylde, I was there, and I probably realised there that when I got into coaching that actually I'm at AFC Fylde making a bit of money on the side of my job. I could probably make this a career for myself in coaching, because I think I've got a real keen eye for the game, a good brain for the game, because I was limited as a player. I had to think about the game a lot to get through a game. I wasn't the fastest, so my brain had to think. So threw myself deep into that about 25 probably, and that'd be the reason that I won't get back into full time about 24, 25 when I started coaching, and thought, right, well, it'll probably take me on that path rather than the other path.
Do you think that's big for a footballer, being able to think quickly? And sometimes you see footballers, young footballers that maybe aren't quite that professional level, that they're maybe a second or two behind the kind of the play. They can do it, but unfortunately they're just not quick enough in maybe a physical way or a mental way as well.
Yeah, definitely. Like decision making, the fans will you'll hear it on a Saturday, the groans when someone makes a bad decision. Football is a decision-making game. It is very core. It's an invasion game that's based around decisions, that if you make more good decisions than bad decisions, you'll probably win as a team, and you'll probably have a good game as an individual if you make more good decisions. So the brain element and the thinking element's huge. Listen, I wasn't blessed with, there's some players that are still figuring it out as a young age, as you said, that are fast, are really physical, really physically gifted, that don't have to think as much as the next player, but if they can marry up the top level, they've got athleticism, tactical, unbelievably astute, so the thought process is really clear and it's really quick, and you'll always hear on podcasts up and down the country about who's the best player you played with and why, and it'll be because they're unbelievable in training, the stuff that they used to do I couldn't even see. Paul Scholes used to play runs around the corner that nobody's seen bar him, so I think football intelligence is a huge part of the game, and possibly something that needs to come to the fore a lot more in the game in general.
Going back to it, obviously you were saying before that you got into coaching when you were at Fyle. How does something like that come about when you're playing a little bit as a young age? Because it's an early step when you're younger, isn't it? Yeah,
of course. So obviously I wanted to stay within football, and I had some friends that were still within football, and luckily I'd played with them. So like Simon Wiles, who was here, they were at Blackpool at the time. So me, Matt Blinkhorn, Kieran Donnelly, we all played at Blackpool together. So they encouraged me to get involved in coaching. Something that I hadn't necessarily really thought of because I was still playing. But once I did get involved within the academy at Blackpool, I thought, no, this is for me. So the moment that I got in it, I thought, right, I'm going to work as hard as I can here to make this a career for myself. And obviously you've got to have confidence in that, but just wanting to learn. So I've probably been at it now 12 years, since 24, yeah, about 12, 13 years. Part-time and then full-time for the last 7, 8 years. So something that I was, as soon as I did, I thought, no, this is what I want to do.
Was there any education alongside that? Because if you're a young footballer chasing the dream, sometimes you've got to do the basics just in case that footballing dream doesn't kind of happen. Obviously with coaching as well, you need an element of knowledge, don't you?
Of course, yeah. So when I dropped out of full-time football, full-time football and professional is different. Obviously full-time football is National League, there's some full-time footballers, but professional is the top 4 leagues, League 2 to Premier League. When I dropped out of professional football and went into the full-time and then non-league, I was doing uni at the same time. So I chose to do university. I didn't think that would be a possibility because at school I didn't do particularly well through choice because I thought I was going to be England captain. Like I thought I was going to be reaching them heights. It didn't quite work out. So luckily my wife, then girlfriend, was at university, and she'll be listening to this. She's much cleverer than me. She's a lot more smarter than me. So she encouraged me to go to university, and I did sport coaching at uni. Sports management, sorry, actually. But alongside that, you have to do all your coaching badges and your qualifications. So yeah, it's been a lot of it. I did, luckily, when I was at Blackpool, we did the level 2, or now UEFA C, I think it's called, qualification. And I've done all of the coaching qualifications up until the pro licence, which I'm currently applying for now. With my experience that I'm doing now, first team football here and then last season at Waterford. I'm hoping to get on that and progress, and that'll be the last bit that I can do, and that's the elite, like that I actually didn't think I'd ever be able to do, possibly. Well, not for a few years anyway. But I'm really pleased that I'm at that stage now where I can apply for it and hopefully get on it.
So obviously at Fyle, you're starting to kind of develop, learn your trade. What was the next step after that? When did you start feeling confident? You know, you feel like you can talk to players as human beings, but as footballers. When was that step for you, do you think?
Relatively early. Like I'm in my coaching, obviously I coached at Blackpool with the under 10s, 11s, 12s, and then 16s, 15s, and then obviously here within the system I've done probably under 40, under 11s upwards actually, to the first team, which is very rare. I know that, I know how lucky I am, but I've worked unbelievably hard, and I probably recognised it early with the mentorship and tutorship of Stu Murdoch within the club, some of the managers that have been here, some of the opportunities I've been afforded, but probably relatively early, to be honest with you, that I thought I was capable. I rose quite quickly, and I have done still. So people were also telling me that I was quite good, and I'm not one to big myself up ever. If people know me watching this, I'm not one to, not got a huge ego, I'm pretty humble, I'd like to think, but the confidence in myself I've always had, that was pretty early, that I thought, actually I think I could do all right at this.
When kind of Fleetwood Town come, a local football club close to the area as well, what was your first thoughts, and what was said to you?
So it was Kieran Donnelly, the academy manager at the time. I was at Blackpool with him, and then he came across, and at that time it was Blackpool were kind of plummeting through the leagues the wrong way, and we were going as a football club the other way. So the excitement around it about 7 years ago was still massively high. So for us, For me, sorry, when Kieran rang me, it was a pretty easy decision about 7 years ago to jump ship from Blackpool to Fleetwood. Being local as well and being based in Polton, Pulford Farm and everything that this encompasses this place, that it was a really, really, really easy decision for me.
How did your role start off? Because you've done many roles. How did it first start off?
So I first came here part-time as a coach, coaching the under 11s. I did that for about 6 months and then went to the 15s, 16s. And then my first job full-time here was about 6 years ago. Was a youth development phase lead, which is under 12s to under 16s, then in the category 3 system. So I was in charge of all them age groups, coaching and liaising with parents and looking after the development of all them players. And then quickly moved to head of coaching, which is the head coach of the whole academy, from under 21s through to pre-academy. So it was a big responsibility, did that for a while, and then went under 18s, under 21s, and now, well, actually Waterford as assistant manager, and then now first team coach here.
You said obviously you've got the kind of the whole responsibility from the under 11s, under 12s up to the 21s. Comes difficult kind of decisions where you've got to tell lads that maybe they're not going to get contracts, not going to be able to stay on at the football club. Was that one of the tougher moments you think you've had? Yeah,
I can remember it. For me personally at Blackpool, I was 20, 21, like in floods of tears, getting told that I'm not going to renew your contract. It's not a retain and release like these boys, but yeah, some of the hardest days I've ever had in football are telling young children that unfortunately we won't be retaining you at this academy. Probably the hardest ages are just before when they leave school, become a scholar here. So to get into the under 18s, because you feel like you're crushing dreams at that point. But always had sleepless nights before it. It's some of the toughest days I've had in football, in full-time football, in professional football. So, but it gives you a really, really good grounding about how to treat people in the long run rather than just for what you need out of football. They are human beings, as you said. Before the human being comes first for us as a football club here, as well as the player. So it's some football clubs that I've been a part of or been in at that it's driven like that. It's football, and that's great, but there's loads of casualties. We know as a football club with an academy at category 2, we're I think one of the best as a club. And we treat people well, so we have a mantra of develop the person, challenge the player. So we've always got to develop the person. So when they leave, whether that's hopefully to the first team or to the Premier League team, or unfortunately just leave and go and carry on, they're going to be a successful person. So we try and help the development of that person in their childhood years and enrich the childhood with loads of memories, experiences, and hopefully it'll go on to hold them in good stead.
When you make that decision, how long goes into it? How long do you think about it for? Because it's not just a week before you're thinking, ticking a box. Some sort of decision has to go into it. What can they do? What can they do? Yeah,
it's an ongoing thing every week of the whole season. It's not a judgment. It's how can we make them better? How can we make them fulfil their potential? Unfortunately, like any elite industry, like universities, they have a deadline, don't they? They have a cut-off point that if you've not reached enough UCAS points, you can't come, or ballet schools, theatre schools, there's an entry-level requirement. So unfortunately, with something like football, when it's the people's game, everyone gets involved and wants to have an opinion, but trust me, our whole opinion takes a year, and it's every week thinking how can we make them fulfil their potential. So it's an ongoing process. The academy, I've stepped away from the academy now in terms of my job role, but I'll never step away from helping young players get through, because that's a huge passion of mine. But it is an ongoing process that we truly give due care and attention to throughout the whole year, and we try and make them reach their potential. And where that potential taps out, some it's under 12s, it might be under 14s, it might be under 16s, it might be under 18s, it might be hopefully, but we know the percentages. So it's very tough, very, very tough. There's no exact science to it, but you try and give it the most care and attention that you can do.
Difficult decisions, obviously, are the bad thing about the job, but the good ones must be the young players that you've worked with for a while that break through to the first team. So many of those over the recent years, Jamie Matete, James Hill, Cole Johnson, really good. Caden Hughes now we're seeing. Does that make the job?
Oh, that is, when you're a young youth development coach, that is the job. That's the whole reason that you do it, to create players to have a career, to go and make, so like CJ going to Peterborough. as much as I'd love him to be at Fleetwood Town, so selfishly, like for him, fantastic that he's gone on and been recognised by another club, to be bought by the club, and it worked out for all parties that was the right deal at the right time. And for someone like him, when you watch him from 16 years old come into this building from a different country in Northern Ireland, that the amount of work he's put in, mainly him, in terms of like himself, his attitude and application has been unbelievable. But then seeing other people like Caden, like seeing work with Caden, like I said, one of my first jobs here was working with Caden. Seeing him now in the first team arena, currently not starting every week, but has had loads of experience, probably quicker than we ever thought at this point, and he's accelerated quicker than we thought, which is brilliant. To see that is everything about the job. And then obviously the other people that are still making careers outwardly. So there's people that are at lower levels that are still playing in the game, which is success, getting money out of the game, which is success, full time in the game, it's a success. And then some people that have gone on to, like James Hill. One of my first years was working with Hilly, not necessarily like I was under 15, 16s when I was doing them, was with Hilly. He went on to Wylesy with the under 18s, but then like Josh Feeney going to Aston Villa, like I worked closely with him for years and still stay in touch with them. But also like just making a success of people. We've got a load of people that still work within the academy full-time and part-time that have come through as players and now getting a job. So it's just as successful, them types, like Josh Cairns is one of our analysts, Kyle King, one of our analysts in the academy. They were scholars at this club because they're good people, and as I said before, we developed them good people that we want to retain them. So they're just as successful and just as proud for me and just as a good feeling that I have. So yeah, it is the best part of the job, all that stuff, and probably like the driver for me going forward is to try and make these individuals as successful as they can be.
I think what's great as well, when you tell Caden Hughes at the start that he'd probably make 15 appearances, 20 appearances, he'd be delighted, but not in the team that he's disappointed, and that's kind of what this football club's all about. You mentioned a couple of times about going over to Waterford last year. Who approached you about that?
So obviously with the ownership owning both, when Keith Long, who's the manager at Waterford, when he was over here with the team in pre-season, it was muted to me then. So this time last year, we played them. So we had a Fleetwood 11 that played them. I took that game, so I was talking to him a little bit then, and then nothing. But Keith behind the scenes supposedly was talking about me to other people. People like Joe Riley, the head of recruitment here. So they were talking, and unbeknownst to me, like positive things. And then the opportunity probably arose in March when I went over. I just got asked, I sat on my couch at home, do you fancy going to Waterford as assistant manager? I was like, well, flipping heck. I don't know, because moving country, I've got a young boy, I've got my wife at home, my wife and young boy at home. It's a really big step for me. But I agreed to it, and I don't regret a single minute of it. Like, other than missing family, which was really difficult, and like seeing what it's like for these footballers, like that have moved up from London, all different parts of the country, from Ireland over this way, seeing what they go through and how tough it is. It can be tough, but I can't tell you how much I loved every single minute of it, and the opportunity that the club afforded me and Keith afforded me over there. But yeah, I just got my head down and worked hard, and I believe I paid them back with what I did over there.
You don't often get loaning coaches, do you? Players, but coaches, I think it's very, very... was it a hard chat to have with the family? And do you think it might have been away from you in a way, made you a stronger person, but a stronger coach? Because you look at footballers have to move away from the families a lot. So you've been a coach, you've kind of been local to the area a lot of your career.
Yeah, exactly. I've been local my whole career. So played for from Blackpool, played for Blackpool, then I moved to AFC Fylde, then I went to Bamber Bridge. That's my football career. Then coaching wise, Blackpool, Fleetwood, and then so me not being, making me move away was a huge thing for me. So that's why I wanted to do it, because I never had. Then you've got to factor in my kid, or Max, my little boy, just turned 6 the other day. He was 5 in a little bit when I moved over. No one wouldn't see him, and my wife, I've been here with Becky since I was 17, 18. So being without them was always going to be the most difficult part for me. So yeah, it was a difficult chat. Luckily my wife was with me when I was a footballer, knows the rigours of football, and knew it was something that I probably needed to do to develop me. And then also develop me as a person, like I was saying about the kids before, or the players that we've got in the first team. you're always developing them as a person. You'd never stop. I'm 36 now. I look a little bit older, granted, but like 36 for me is a time for me to step out of my comfort zone and really, really kick on now.
Absolutely. And coming back, after being in the first team setup, did that make you hungry? Obviously, you've come back now and are involved in the first team setup. Was that agreed when you was coming back from Waterford, or was that something you were told about?
No. So when I came back, I initially went back into my 21s role. Like Pondy, Nathan Pond and Mark Yates had stepped in the interim and done an amazing job. But for me, like coming back, I knew I was coming back into my lead PDP role, which is under 21s and 18s, like heading that up. So I did that for about a month, and then obviously Charlie made a change in his staffing, and then early December I got asked basically, and because I'd been doing it for a season in Waterford, it was a natural progression. I felt that it was something that I wanted to do and explore, and I think I can add real value to this club, this first team, and hopefully the new manager Pete and his assistant Adam, they hopefully see the same, and going forward we'll see what happens.
Obviously, you work with the first team, you know, day to day, you see them. Do you have to do any sort of initiation when you first joined the coaching staff, or were you?
I did, when Lee Johnson was here, I did a little bit of it, but I kind of snuck under the radar a little bit, which is good, so I don't want to say that too loud on camera, but no, the lads do. It's a bit different with coaches, so I've kind of exercised my authority there and dipped out of it, but yeah, I did half do one. When Lee Johnson was in, because I was around the first team at that point as well, just helping them bed in. So yeah, it's a yes and no, and I'll say yeah, I've done it. I'm not doing it again. I
think the question that on everyone's lips is, what did you sing? What did you?
I can't even remember now. I just remember being sweaty and nervous and kind of just mumbling through it. So it's not really my forte. I'm not going to say I've done millions in the past. Don't get me wrong, and but this time around being a coach, I felt a little bit weird even doing it. The then assistant got up and outshone me anyway, so I was all right. He took the limelight off me. Just
a couple of weeks later, did you ever think you'd be in charge of a first team fixture for the second time? That is. No,
I definitely didn't. Obviously, I came back, and then obviously a couple of weeks later, just took him for the Chesterfield game on Boxing Day. I never thought that the change would happen. Obviously being involved in it, I just didn't know. So you never expect it. You're obviously working so hard every day that you're in it, and you're just trying to figure out, how do we get better every single day? How do we get out of this slump that we're in, or how do we carry on this run that we're on if you're being successful? So I never thought I would be, but obviously when the opportunity came, obviously I'm definitely going to do it. I've done it once before, and then for this game against Chesterfield in League 2 in front of 5,000, 4,000 people in the day, was unbelievably special for me and my family, and obviously Yatesy and Pondy that helped me. Like it was a proper day. 2
wins from 2, because obviously you got the Tranmere game as well. Both 2-0 wins as well. Piece of cake, this, isn't it? The management lot.
Yeah, it's not too bad now. It's definitely not. The stress that you're under and the pressure you feel, and you question every decision, every thought. Am I clear here? Am I clear there? We had 2 days build up for the Chesterfield game, and you're thinking about how good they are, how do we stop them, how we maximise on what we're doing. It's definitely not a piece of cake. Listen, the 2 results have been fantastic, and it's given me loads of confidence for my future in terms of I've seen briefly what it's about, and then what does my future hold? And I don't know, but I know that I'm capable of working at least at a level that I believe that I'm capable of doing. So we'll see in the future, but for now I just need to concentrate on the here and now. But yeah, it was an experience for me, my family. I had about 1 million people come and watch that day. So that's why I think there was 4,500 there, because I think 4,000 of them were my family and friends. So no, it was really good, that the amount of messages I got and goodwill. I'm useless on my phone, but it was fantastic for me to see all the love and support that I got, me personally. So no, it was very good.
Do you want to step into management one day? Is that something on the agenda?
Yeah, I guess I would do. I'd say that, yeah. Like, anytime, I'm not in a rush. I'm 36, even though that feels old to football. I was speaking to Danny Mayer today about, I'm 34, I'm old. I was like, yeah, you're old for a footballer, but you're not old for a human. Like, you're midway through, hopefully, well, less than halfway through your life. But yeah, I need to get better at certain stuff. I know that. This experience will help me do that. I'm developing. But yeah, I believe that it's a route that I probably want to take in the future. And hopefully, I can do it at a football club like this. That's passion for me in terms of I've been here. I feel like it's within me. I was talking to a young boy the other day in the academy, and he was like, I've been here since I was 10, this is my club. I feel like it's my club. And I was like, yeah, I feel the same. So for me, yeah, it would be an ambition to be a manager here. But I'm not in any rush to do that. I want to be ready when the opportunity comes.
Pete Wild comes into the football club, and in many ways, you look at his career and your career.
Yeah.
Not really necessarily on the playing side, but coaching side. Do you think that's a really good for you? Obviously, it's a great appointment for the football club, but he's gone in from a coaching at Oldham, his club as well.
Yeah.
So you're at Fleetwood, your club, and he's built up a reputation at Halifax and Barrow. And come here, I think he's got over 250 games as a manager. Is he someone that you can really challenge to be like a little bit?
Yeah, well, definitely him and the assistant temps, like their journeys are so similar to mine. Like you said, maybe not in the playing aspect, but it's 1,000,000% in the coaching aspect. Starting young, getting in with little to no playing football experience. Even though I played the game, like not to the level of these boys. Obviously, I was a professional for 5 years, 5 or 6 years, but dropped out. I can definitely see like the resemblance. It gives me confidence to see the way the manager operates. I've only been working with him for 2, 3, 4 weeks now, and like, I can't tell you how impressed I am with the way he operates, how organised he is, how passionate he is, like his brain, like a student of the game. One of my old coaches that I worked with, he's a friend of the manager. Like, on Christmas Day, I just managed to see him, and he was saying he's a student of the game, he's a scholar of the game, and that's exactly what I've seen. So me picking up on his experience of managing at Halifax and Barrow, coach doing it interimly, like myself, but doing for a longer period of time at Oldham, his club, I can definitely resonate. But what I can resonate more with is that some people that are involved in football have like the whole lives they've been playing, and then they just go straight into coaching. They've got life experience as well, as I have, like in different sectors, and they've brought some of that into their work now. So for me, 100%, it's given me an insight as to it can be done. It gives me a confidence to say it can be done, and hopefully I can learn loads off them too, and like me, bringing something to them as well as part of a management staff.
I think you alluded to, you actually spoke to Pete on Christmas Day, you had to go away from your young family, and so you'll get like nice messages off your family for that, but what was your first chat about? What was it, you filling in, this player's like this player is, needs a little bit of this, what was your first real chat about, would you say?
Well, first I think it was us just getting to know each other, like introducing ourselves, and like you saying he was looking forward to working with me. What are my thoughts about the game the next day against Chesterfield? What team am I thinking? Because obviously we discussed that prior, me on the 8C, in the 2 days prior, and I said, have you got any suggestions? Like, obviously I knew it was going to be his team post the Boxing Day game. So we just talked football really. He talked about I kind of just spoke about the game, and he said, there's a few key messages you've said there, Laws, that are my language. I love that, like about being horrible to play against, being tough to play against, being running hard, all the non-negotiable stuff that we're built on. He has got such similar thoughts and beliefs that our first conversation was a good one. It was quite akin to each other. And then the next day we came into training, the game, on Boxing Day, and he came in and he addressed the players, but he'd also addressed the staff before and myself. So just getting to know him really, because obviously we knew we were going to be working together, hopefully for a long period of time, that it was just getting to know each other and getting each other on the same messages, so it's clear to the players. So it was a really good start,
How have you felt we've done since he's come in? Because there's been an uplift. You can clearly see that a couple of victories at home, a great result against Salford away from home. Since that, hopefully nothing goes differently after we've done this interview. But how would you assess it so far?
Yeah, I think it's been brilliant. Like, it's been really clear for the players, really clear to staff. They are good people, so like you want to go and work for them, you want to go and play for them. So I genuinely, there's been an upturn in results, obviously, which helps the mood of the place and helps them, their messages and my messages with included in that staff hit home a little bit harder because they can see it's working. But I think it's been really good at a change. Obviously, it's really, really difficult for the last management staff, and obviously I feel for them because they're really good people as well. Like Charlie, I've known Charlie for a number of years, really good person, really good man, and a good operator in terms of his role, obviously going into Everton. But for me, with Pete, and Adam, I call him Adam, he's called Temps to me, with the manager and Temps, I think it's been a really good start. I think the lads will feel that as well.
Yeah.
If you speak to, obviously I speak to them quite closely, that they can feel it, and hopefully, like I said, post this interview, it carries on, and we can do something really, really special over the next few years.
Before we finish, I'll just ask you some quick fire questions as well. Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time?
Hopefully working in football at the highest level I can possibly work at.
How would you describe yourself in one word?
Passionate.
Funniest person in the changing room at Fleetwood?
I don't know, there's a couple down there actually. Benno Harrington or Mayer. Danny Mayer's dead dry, I like Benny.
Yeah, I've seen. I think that Charlie said it, and I was very surprised. And then I watched his Carlisle interview, and he just came across like, "Oh, I've not been good enough." I was like, "Wow!" I was very surprised at that. Who would you say the brightest is in the changing room?
The brightest, Matty Virtue.
Yeah, footballers don't get labelled to be clever.
Or Bonzi. Bonzi's an intelligent boy as well. So yeah, Matty or Bonzi. Yeah, a couple definitely not. I won't say it out loud.
Best player that you've worked with?
Best player I've worked with? Oh, don't know. Played with or worked with or just like coaching?
You have to take both if you want.
Best player I played with was easily Wes Houlihan. Like unbelievable talent, like unbelievable. Like he made me feel like I'd never played football before when I played up against him. Best player I've coached? I don't know. Yeah, it's difficult. I'd probably say one of the current ones actually, just to big them up. Say Danny Mayer.
Danny Mayer, right, he's scoring the winner tomorrow. Any player from the academy that's currently kind of not in a first team picture that might be in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years?
Yeah, Josh Feeney, I think. Josh Feeney for me. He had everything leaving here at 16 years old to Aston Villa. He's currently doing really well at Shrewsbury on loan as a 19-year-old boy. So hopefully that experience and he carries on and has a career. Listen, if he has a career, I think he can be good, very, very good. So yeah, I'd say Josh Feeney.
Any current players in the academy that you say could break into the first team player that maybe haven't done? If you had to name, maybe a couple.
Not putting loads of pressure on them, but Pele Smith's very, very good. I like. There's a couple of younger ones that are really good in the under 13s, 14s that I could tell you. But yeah, I'd say Pele Smith and George Morrison. Most
famous person in your phone book?
My phone book. Pete Wild, if he carries on his memes about fajitas and stuff.
Oh God.
Probably. I don't know, I'm rubbish on my phone, so I'm actually probably say Charlie Adam.
Yeah, fair enough. Thank you very much for joining me, Matt.
No, thanks very much. Thank you.